We have another India versus Canada story, foreign interference, clandestine dealing, CSIS, and Patrick Brown. Okay, so this is a story about allegedly the Indian government trying to interfere in the federal conservative race against Patrick Brown last year. Now, full disclaimer, I am anti-Patrick Brown. I have been since like 2016, 2017. He is my least favorite politician in Canada. I personally consider him a national security threat to the country, and he needs to be a restraining order of 10,000 feet between Patrick Brown and any elected office. He should not be in office, should not hold office. He is a danger to the conservative movement and the country. And I will grant India, he's also clearly a national security threat if he were to get into India. Why? He was trying to delist the Tamil Tigers, a terrorist organization that has assassinated the Indian Prime Minister before. So there's a reason why India doesn't like him. Now, their Sam Cooper report does show that CSIS does have some evidence that the Indian High Commission wanted to undermine Patrick Brown. Now, this is, I think, a story, or there's a meta story around all this Canada-India stuff and India-America stuff where it's very, very clear that Canada, America, and the West do not understand India, its interests, how its political system works, and it's how society views all these issues. That's very clear. It is also equally as clear that India and the Indian government does not understand Canada, the West, America, and how our politics or social politics function in any way. Neither side understands the motivations of the other, and it's causing trouble. Now, let's go back to what's happened here. So, Patrick Brown, who was disqualified by the Conservative Party itself from the race, is alleging that the Indian government is after him, and this is all done by the Indian government. Now, the reason I brought up the Indian government not understanding Canada is Patrick Brown had a 0% chance of winning. No one needed. This is like going back in time and planting a bomb on the Titanic. Like, you don't need to. It's going down. This is sort of the equivalent of what the Indian government is alleged to have done here. Patrick Brown would not have won. Patrick Brown's entire campaign smelled like a money laundering scheme and was disqualified. So in Canada, what you need to know is there's a maximum amount you can give to a politician. It's like $1,600 around that. Let's just say around $1,500. It just above that, but that's the max cap an individual can give. So the average donation to Polyev was like under $100, whereas the average donation to Patrick Brown was like right at the maximum. So to anyone who understands Canadian politics, this smelled to high hell. You look at it and you go, 99% chance something shady is going on here. You have the Patrick Brown himself. This is a man who, anytime he shows up somewhere, he's in bed with the Khalistanis, he's in bed with the Islamists, he's in bed with the Tamil Tigers. Again, so there's a reason why India does not like him. Same reason I don't like him. Well, I have an extra reason. That's one reason. Is like, in my opinion, Patrick Brown should not be in politics. He should not be in politics. He should not be allowed to run. Too much shady stuff has gone under Patrick Brown's watch, and the people in the organizations, a lot of organizations that promise to kill 50,000 Hindus love Patrick Brown. We know where this is. So, the other reason I dislike Patrick Brown is Patrick Brown, his job is to undermine the Conservative Party and the Conservative movement in Canada. It's just sort of like his own personal ambition. This is a game he plays. What he does is, he ran to be provincial Conservative leader as did the O'Toole thing, the true blue Conservative, and then got in and then immediately became this far left person. He supports the carbon tax. He supports, the M103 Islamophobia motion. He supports, again, more taxes, pandering to vote bank politics, intersectional diversity, feminism, DEI stuff, all the stuff that the radical left believes in, Patrick Brown believes in. And his job is to implement that. And then when a conservative gets on TV, like Pierre Poilievre or something, and says, actually, we need to get rid of the taxes and everyone should be treated as an individual. Patrick Brown's job is to go in the CBC and be like, oh, this isn't conservatism. Not the conservatism I believe in. Real conservatives believe in gender diversity, equity, transgender, Islamophobia motions. That's what real conservatism is. A 1 billion% tax rate to fight Islamophobia and homophobia in Nunavut. That's what we need to be doing, right? This is the Patrick Brown stuff, and then he plays fake conservative on TV. So, an utterly detestable character from every angle. Patrick Brown bad. It's been one of my defining political stances since I've been very public with them. Patrick Brown, bad. Now, India. Stop it. Stop the silliness. Like, if you want to, like, listen, I get it. And Sam Cooper makes the online, like, the Chinese interference is worse. Like, the real story we have here is that of Chinese interference. But at least the CCP is going after people where there's some effect. Like, you kind of respect it. It's like, oh, you look at the writings they're tinkering with. Oh, this guy's pro-Islamic regime, and he's connected to the regime. So we'll just push him over the top here, and he'll be friendly to the CCP here, and we'll push this and push here. Like, little things. Like, the CCP isn't wasting time on Patrick Brown. Pierre Poilievre won with 68% of the vote in the first round. He crushed it. It was so clearly, it was so clear that no one but Poilievre was going to win. No one but Poilievre was going to win. The charade nonsense was nonsense. Poilievre destroyed it. This was utterly unnecessary, okay? And, so from the Indian perspective, is like, guys, one, this is undermining you. But two, if you're going to do it, like, pick your battles. Like, pick a place where it's actually, like, I look at it and go, okay, this makes sense that they would do this. Like, no. Conversely, Westerners. The Indian government and the Indian society is quite vociferously anti-terrorist these days because they tend to get killed by terrorists a lot because many types of terrorists, Hindus, Islamists, communists, Marxists, Keralists, Naxalites, whatever you want to call them, they hate Hindus and like killing them. And they've had a very pro-soft on terrorist government for a while. Now the government's more hard on terrorism. And this is a big selling factor to the billions of people in India who are suffering from terrorism. So when we sort of cast them as trying to like assassinate, Hardip Singh Nijjar and Panoon, who they view as terrorists, because Hardip Singh Nijjar has been described by his supporters as the leader of the Khalistan Tiger Force, which openly, conducts, clandestine assassinations in India, and you have Panoon, who's threatening to blow up Air India flights again. This just boosts Modi's internal polling. That's what it is. Conversely, Indians, you are doing the exact same thing to Justin Trudeau and Biden when you talk about free speech. This Indian attack on free speech, I kind of get it because Justin Trudeau lectured you guys on free speech when you first asked him about this. Why are Khalistanis running around threatening to kill everyone? He's like, freedom of speech. The issue of like Panoon threatening to blow up an airplane is not a free speech issue in Canada. That's a criminal act. This doesn't fall under free speech. And when you guys keep ranting about the West is too tolerant to freedom of speech, well, Westerners are going to turn against you. Because the big problem we have, the people who oppose Trudeau and Biden, is they are actually very anti-free speech people. And the majority of the support or potential support for India is locked in the people who are, adamantly pro-free speech. And when you make these noises that you are against free speech, when you're actually against, open calls to genocide and terrorism, you actually make Biden and Trudeau look like more staunch free speech defenders, which actually increases their popularity here, right? So see how no one understands each other and we're all making this much, much, much less worse? Yeah, maybe let's talk and figure out each other's motivations to calm this down. And listen, if the Indian government is trying to mess around in Canadian politics, okay, stop it. Stop it bad. You cannot do this. And two, I do think a big part of this driving is you see in the Biden administration and the Trudeau administration, we have real problems to deal with internationally, but we choose to deal with the Indians because I think we think it's easier. This is why we don't talk, yes, Hamas is committing lots of war crimes. Every rocket fired from a civilian area to a civilian area is a double war crime. But we don't try and deal with Hamas because we know they can't be reasoned with. Instead, it's easier to bully the Jews or the Israelis, and it's too hard to deal with the Chinese or the CCP because they'll push back, so it's easier to bully the Indians. And this is a problem we can actually talk about, right? And it's easier. So it's sort of the path of least resistance here. I think a lot of that is happening. And it's not good for India, and it's not good for America, and it's not good for Canada. Ultimately, if we're going to try and fight off the forces of communism, Islamism, Khalistanis, and the CCP, we're going to have to work together. But there's a massive breakdown between our two societies, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. So did India do this? Maybe. I would understand their motivations. Did they need to do this? Absolutely not. This was stupid. So stupid. Patrick Brown's not going to win. I mean, next time you want to go after Patrick Brown, just share the videos I've made explaining why no one should ever talk about Patrick Brown. Like that's a lot easier than doing anything else. But again, it's 2023 and everyone is stupid and no one is listening to each other. So expect more stupidity coming in 2024 as we pick fights with the entire world and the entire world picks fights with us, except for the people we need to be fighting, because that would make sense. And that's not what we do anymore.